My Dollar General imitation fig Newtons. Very delicious. They have a little bit more fat than the original fig, but the big fig Newton. All right, so let's go to this thing here. It's on the Drudge Report. I was screwing with Christine face. I'm so mad at her. That's part of a psyop, though. You know that. The photos that they're using of Christy Nome, when they make her look ugly, or try to at least. Right. Let me put it. The unflattering photos. That's part of the persuasion psyop. Now, it may be nothing to do with ICE. She maybe has to do something. Maybe she has to harass me. I don't know what it is. It could be 20 other people. And the agents, the corrupt agents, will report to the machine that Christy Nome won't let them harass people. I don't know, but it could be something like this. And then they'll make it look like it's related to something she's doing officially, like the immigration thing. But meanwhile, she's getting with messaging. It's the same thing they do by calling all the, oh wait, something goes down here. My screen ain't closed out. By calling the president's pedophiles. You can let us use the pedophile extortion scheme. The old pedophile hunter that's a scammer. It's working for a criminal enterprise to extort people, including extort people away from talking about their narcotics distribution, their sex trafficking, protecting the boss, quote unquote. But here I'm going to pull this up. That was only part of it. There was actually something else I was looking at. Maybe I can pull this up here. Let me see what's going on here. The big Note 10. All right, up here. All right, we kind of have it. No, that's not what I wanted. What's it doing? Could be them hacker me. Trying to make me paranoid. Oh, they can see. Wait. What is this thing anyway? My console, my broadcast console. There it is. Okay. ICE use of tear gas. That's them. That's a faux pas. ICE use of tear gas injuries sickens and tests the law. Agent pointed gun at bystander before beating man's head into pavement. I can address all these, and I'll address the third one later. There we go. We're back to where it's supposed to be. So this is normal, actually. Back when I was in the Marshal Service, you would have gotten a gun pulled on you, and none of this fighting stuff. We're not going to do that. First, we would spray you. If that didn't do it, you would have a gun pulled on you, and you could still have a gun pulled on you before the officer decides to spray you, before the deputy decides to spray you. Right. I mean, what they believe, the judge. It's even in the judge's mind. It's like, oh no, you can't do that. Once it gets, you notice it's not in the Supreme Court yet, right? A lot of the stuff when it gets to the Supreme Court, the game is going to end. Right. I thought that was done. Looked legitimate to me. Right? I told you to stay away from them vehicles, especially when they're loading somebody up. Right. It doesn't matter who you are. You call yourself a protester, but at that point, you're impeding and assaulting a federal officer attempting to detain somebody. You're obstructing justice. I first saw it, I'm like, okay, what's he doing? Is that over the line? And then I look, I'm like, oh, he's just keeping them back. It's standard. He doesn't have to grab his baton out or his spray out because he's actively trying to detain somebody. And he doesn't have time to battle with you. Why? Because the other person is the person he's got to watch. And again, that person at that point was handcuffed. If they run off, fall on their face and then blame the ICE officer. Right. So what's here on the judge report is bullshit. That's how it's handled. That's how it used to be handled. Right. The bystander's trying to attack the officer, right, and attack the process. That's how you stop it from happening. You pull your gun out, they step back about a few more feet because they're most likely advancing on him. Right. I agree. That's a part you can't see. Just, it gets frustrating. So you have to remind the officers, you do have to be careful about, how the takedown works. I mean, obviously, in a melee, a takedown is a takedown. But just, because again, Your Honor, we remind our officers that, we understand they have to protect themselves and protect the public from what you all erroneously are calling protesters. There are no such thing as protesters. I guess Drudge thinks he's funny. He calls them bystanders. Not bystanders either. Right. They're actively obstructing justice and impeding. Right. They're making the whistles. That's a psychological warfare effort. They're deep state, man. They're using all the deep state stuff. These are the everyday people I told you were talking my life and you never did anything about. Now they're attacking all of you. They're using the same methods. That's why that guy killed himself. Right. The whistles, that's PSYOP. Right. That's prisoner of war camp technology. So that is obstruction of justice in itself. How can a CIA method, how can a prisoner of war camp method be simply protesting? Everything they're doing, you can take it and change some of the wording, but keep the same anger, keep the same noise. You'll find in interrogations in foreign countries that are, considered committing real crimes against humanity. Right. Okay, no, I don't know if this is real. No plot secret. Yeah, I would just remind, it's always good to document it, right? That you reminded officers, and you go to the court, you say, Your Honor,
We tell, our leaders remind, once a week, every Monday, or whatever it is, whatever you come up with. We go through a series of like a roll call type of thing. Sometimes it's in an email. Sometimes it's, face to face. Sometimes it's in a chat. Whatever it is, on the phone. We remind them, be cognizant of the takedown where a person lands, but we also understand that that's limited, especially with the confusion that they're causing. They're causing confusion. It's not a simple protest. A simple protest is you go to, the Capitol building and blow whistles, right? Where it's not split second life or death, right? So everything that Drudge wrote there, I've seen that done. Right. And it's just part of the tools of law enforcement. Again, force on force. Right. You have to understand, that was a single officer standing there with the vehicle. There are other officers around, but you jump him, the melee's on, and he doesn't know whether he's going to survive it. Right. So if you come forward 3 feet while he's trying, and then he's also got the prisoner, he can't let the prisoner escape, the detainee escape. Not only for escape's sake, they're handcuffed. They'll be running down the road, fall on their face, and who knows what's going to happen to them. Again, like the other guy that ran off, jumped up onto the roof, and then he fell off the roof and died. Right. Well, at that point, she's handcuffed and in their custody. Right. Let me go back over there. Somebody's messing around. Good to change the color. Yeah, there we go. So as far as, okay, so no one plots secretly using bounty hunters for roundups. Now, I don't think, what was that guy's name? I was just saying it the other day. Maybe he willed me not to remember his name, or maybe some of the other deputies did. Not Rodell. What was that guy's name? Okay, so he wouldn't do it because he makes the big money and he doesn't go out anymore. But there are people that retire from the Marshal Service that will run bail bonds companies. Right. And there's other people that are available. So you call them bounty hunter, but a lot of them are contractors who are prior law enforcement, prior federal agents, right? Or bounty, I guess you call them bounty hunters, but a lot of, bail bondsmen and bounty hunters. They're not necessarily bounty hunters. Generally we call them contract officers, right? And it's like a CIA contractor, but it's a DHS contractor. I mean, you're more familiar with the term or CIA contractor. Let's see if I can find his name. It's on the tip of my head, but I can't get to it. Must have willed his name out of my vocabulary. After those people. Oh, I can't remember his name. Somebody's saying it, I think. No, not back in the modern times. Roderick, that's it, Roderick. So, there was probably a time that he would do some contract work. Right. Thank you. So again, it's not, they make it sound a certain way by saying bounty hunters. They're contract officers, right? Or under contract to DHS. Right. I don't know if they would do it per head or anything like that. I mean, they could do a reward system, but I think it would be more of a contract. Like somebody like Roderick, he was, you know, I think he was part of that. He did a lot of fist operations when they were first starting out, and, right, brought everybody else up into them. So the idea of these major roundups, as they call it on there, right? It's not anything that's a big deal. These are people that have been in these roundups. Again, there was a big layoff at FBI and other places, so we lost a lot of experience. And you know, some of these people can come back. You know, the other ones. You know, when I told you that was actually my plan. I told you if you lay off the deep state, you have to be prepared to bring former officers on, because you're not going to have enough, you know, people coming up through the academy, right? Of course, they have experience and everything else, so it's even better, right? That was my plan. I probably started talking about it in 2016 or 17. So again, everything you saw in those videos happens all the time, or you know, when it's required. But it doesn't happen as much because there's not as much arrests without these roundups like this. But that kind of stuff happens in roundups all the time. And then you don't have as many quote unquote bystanders. You don't have as much obstruction. So it's only going to happen so much. No, an officer can, if 4 people went to bum rush that officer, he could shoot them. Right. One person would be a little difficult to articulate, but there may be some circumstance. I'm sure there's 4 or 5 people there at least that he saw advancing on him. Nobody's required to fight anybody. Right. That's why I got spray and stun guns and everything else. A little bit of mouthwash here. So if the officers decide to fight over something else, you know, a higher level of force on force, you know, sometimes it's just, you know, it's a gift. Right. They could just spray you in the face and laugh at you. Right. And then they don't have to spray you in the face either. Like if there's 5 people or 4 people, even 3 people, probably not going to, you know, spray may be ineffective. You get one, the other one jumps you. So again, there's, right. That's probably, it worked, didn't it? You didn't see them enter the camera range, did you? Because they moved back. Right. At least on the video that I saw. Well, I could actually take that refrigerator in my storage unit. I don't have to give it away, but I was hoping somebody would need it and I could give it to them. All right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have to look for some charity organization. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.